Uh, in this video, we'll be continuing with the C# video tutorials. In this video, we'll be going over the open file dialog and save file dialog controls. So I think we've discussed this in Android or Java if you've seen those tutorials. So basically, it's just a dialog box. So the open file dialog, think of your classic Windows open file kind of dialog box. Like you know when you sometimes are on the internet and you click something, for example, you want to upload a picture or a video. So you'll click a button or you'll press a button on your phone and it'll pop up with a window that'll say, like, it'll go to your what's it called? It'll basically go to your computer or your device, like its files, locations, and stuff. So that's an open file dialog, and a save dialog allows you to save a file to the computer or to your device. In this case, it's C#, so it's for a Windows PC. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to use. So let's just talk about that here. So we'll just talk about the open file log. Sorry, the open file dialog and save file dialog controls. So I'll just make some space here in my notes. So the open file dialog and save file dialog controls. The open file dialog and save file dialog controls. So the open, actually, sorry, this should just be like this. So that's the title of the notes, section of the notes, so then this will be a note. So the open file dialog and save dialog controls allow your application to display standard Windows dialog boxes for opening. Let's make that a bit smaller. Might be too small. Standard Windows dialog boxes for opening and saving files. Spelled some stuff wrong here. So the open file dialog and save dialog controls allow your application to display standard Windows dialog boxes for opening and saving files. So unlike label, button, and text boxes, so those are invisible controls, the open file dialog control displays a standard Windows open dialog box. So pretty much the code for this is a lot of it's built in, which makes it pretty easy to use. So the built-in classes in Microsoft C# kind of handle how to actually bring the file dialog section of that part of your computer up and all that. You only have to write a bit of the code, or you really only have to write half the code's already done for you. So the open file dialog control displays a standard Windows open dialog box. We can note that down here. The open file dialog control displays a standard Windows Open dialog box. The open file dialog control displays a standard Windows Open dialog box. The save dialog control displays a standard Windows Save As dialog box. So displaying an open box when adding an open file dialog box control to a form. It does not appear on the form, but in an area at the bottom of the designer called the component tray. Okay, so let's try to work with that here. So an open file dialog box. So let me just switch to the designer here. I might have to find it. It's probably not a common control. Is this the toolbox? Nope, this one. Okay, system. .windows.forms. Open file dialog control. Open. A B C D E F G H I J K L M N O P. So O was skipped. So let me go with system. Okay, so nothing here. So I'm gonna have to click on manage components. I'm in Rider. Systems.windows.forms. Gonna look for O. Open file dialog. That's what we want right there. And we also, so for now that's all we want, so hit OK. So open file dialog, I'm just gonna, so it's not gonna display on the form. So we'll learn how to work with it here, so but in the area, so we'll continue to talk about this later on, but for now this is just kind of an intro to these controls. I'm switching up the series a little bit here. I'm going to be doing that first, that way so we can just jump into the labs one by one after we do the notes. Some notes in a lab it's okay, but this way I think it's faster. That way I can get the videos out quicker anyways. But basically when adding a file, when adding an open file when adding an open file dialog control to the form, it does not appear on the form, at least in the designer window. We'll learn how to potentially, well, yeah, we should be able to be writing these objects later on. But when adding an open file dialog control to the form, it does not appear on the form, but in an area at the bottom of the designer called the component tree. So this is the component tree, I guess, down here. Perhaps you can move the component tray like that. I'm just going to leave it where it is. We'll talk about that later on, probably in the lab. So displaying an open box dialog. So displaying an open dialog box. So in code you can display the open dialog box by calling the show dialog method. So let's just create some more notes on that. Alright, sorry, let's just do that down here. So here we have displaying an open dialog box. Alright, open file dialog box. So in code you can display an open dialog box by calling the show dialog method. So here we can say private void button 1 underscore click, so let's just pretend we have a button. And here we can say obj sender, for example, comma event args e. So we can say here that we can call, so we can say open file dialog dot show dialog. Alright, so we'll be continuing with that stuff later on. I'm just going to be going over a bunch of concepts to do with file operations for now. Pretty much we'll just, sorry, just hit the mic I think. But pretty much we'll just be doing, we'll be doing the whole, pretty much a lot of the basic notes, general notes. Then we'll just do the code examples. We'll just do a bunch of code examples after this, and then if there's any parts of the code that may be confusing, I'll try to explain a little bit more extra notes to you guys if we need to. Hopefully not, so we can just speed through this. Excuse me, because there's just there's another half to go from where we are now, so plus a chapter. Well, yeah, it's about pretty much whatever's that we have now, whatever that we have now that we've done so far, which is like 40-50 videos, I think, so far. So we have another 50 videos to do. But for now, let's just continue with detecting the user's selection. So let's just make a note here. I think if I would have done it this way, it would have been faster. But let's try it this way and see if we can save some time here. So detecting the user's selection. If that goes good, we may be able to just speed through the other topics as well, such as JavaScript in the next series. I'll have more time to get those Android videos out and the MQL5 series that I want to start as well, which will pretty much just be just like some trading bot stuff, how to apply coding to finance applications and all that. Okay, so here we have, so detecting the user's selection. So detecting the user's selection, that's just the title. So then here we'll have the show dialog method returns, and then after JavaScript we'll have C++. So if I can just quickly speed through everything, then I can get to everything faster. Because then we'll still have React. We'll have Web 1, and then we'll have some Web 2, and we'll probably have Web 3, maybe just at least Web 2. Which will be like Angular, React, React Native, potentially, and PHP stuff. that should be concluding most of the coding. So let's try to speed through that as fast as possible. So for now we have, so I can get you guys to become a full stack. You guys can become full stack developers from this channel. Okay, so here we have detecting the user selection. The show dialog method returns a value that indicates which button the user clicks to dismiss the dialog box. Clicks to dismiss the dialog box. So the show dialog method returns a value that indicates which button the user clicks to dismiss the dialog box. So if the user click the open button, the value dialog result.ok is returned. If the user clicks the cancel button, the value dialog, the value dialog result.cancel is returned. So the following is an empty, not an empty. Oh, whoops, so we don't need to write that, that's just my professor's notes. Okay, so if the user clicks the cancel button, the value, so if the user clicks the cancel button, the value dialog result.cancel is returned. Excuse me. I assume that's a constant. We can check that later on. So this is a code example that we have here. It's spring now, so there's a lot of like pollen in the air and stuff, making me sneeze a little bit here. Okay, so if we have, for example here, then we'll say if open file dot show dialog points to dialog result dot ok. So if open file dot show dialog points to dialog result dot ok, then you can do something. Or do some code or whatever. Do some code, whatever. Then here, otherwise, for example, you could say else if open file dot show dialog. So else if open file dot show dialog points to dialog result dot cancel. Do something else. Else if it doesn't equal either of those, then it's something else. So just an example of that. So a bit more here to do. Where are we at here? Detecting the user selection, is that what we said? Okay, detecting the user selection. The show dialog method returns a value that indicates which button the user clicks to dismiss the dialog box. Okay. So after all that, we can say that we have, so here we can have the file name and initial directory property. Okay, so I'm just thinking if we should maybe do this in the next set of notes. Okay, so the file name and initial directory property. I think we might continue this in the next set of notes. The video's starting to get a little bit long. Actually, you know what, let's just do this last one here. So let's just say, okay, after that stuff, which may not be completely understood because I'm changing up the style here, we're going to be doing the labs after. I'm going to try to fly through the notes first. So let's just try that. So let's just say, okay, let's just separate this here. We can say the file name and initial directory. So the file name and initial directory property. So when the user selects a file with the open dialog method, the file's path and file name are stored in the controls file name property. So when the user selects a file with the open dialog box, the file's path and file name are stored in the controls file name property. Actually, sorry, let's just back that up here. I wanted to cut that off around here so you guys could see everything. So when the user selects a file with the open dialog box, the file's path and file name. I was trying to go too fast. So the file's path and file name are stored in the controls file name property. So when the user selects a file with the open dialog box, the file's path and file name are stored in the controls file name property. Okay. So example here, if open file dot show dialog box or just show dialog points to dialog result.ok. And here we'll say input file points to file.open text. We'll say open file.file name. So this is getting a little bit confusing. Don't worry, we'll get into all these labs and stuff so we can memorize everything. So if openFile.show dialog points to dialog result.ok, then we'll say, basically if the choice is okay from the dialog, so basically when the dialog box is result, so if someone clicks the OK button in the dialog box, then we'll say OK, well then the input file points to file.open text. Here we'll say open file dot file name. Else you can do something else. Else would be the other case if dialog result did not point to OK. Excuse me. So you can specify a directory to be initially displayed with the initial directory property. For example, open file.initial directory. Let's just write that out actually. So we'll say here excuse me. So you can specify a directory to be initially displayed with the initial directory property. So you can specify a directory to be initially displayed with the, I spelled that wrong, forgot an I here, initial directory property. So you can specify a directory to be initially displayed with the initial directory property, such as example excuse me, so open file.initial directory points to C colon / data, for example. Okay, so we'll probably just leave it there. In the next video, we'll be going over displaying a save as a dialog box, so you can save, and then we'll display a save, basically just display a save as a dialog box. So thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, you can like and subscribe to the channel to support the channel for more free investing and coding tutorials. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care.